Hey, good morning, guys. I believe this is the only ride session we have in Japanese. So, before I start speaking in Japanese, let me tell you one thing. If you think Japanese are quiet, obedient, you're dead wrong. Those guys, very different. Rebels, innovators. They're very, very different kind of Japanese people. So I'm very happy to have three innovators, two from Silicon Valley, one from Hiroshima, Japan. Mazda, Honda, Yamaha. Nick Sugimoto from Honda, Hiroshi Saijou from Yamaha, and Kiyoshi Fujiwara from Mazda. So let's start the session by having Nick introducing himself. よろしくお願いします。
Good morning. I'm Sugimoto from Honda.
Is the interpreter going?
The interpretation is going on. And well, I'm Honda, based in Silicon Valley. The Open Innovation Laboratories person responsible. And I'd like to explain what we do at work. Our mission, well, I think that everyone would be interested in startups. So we are working on our company's innovations and collaborations, and we work on what does not exist yet. We work on innovations, new things. We mainly work on advanced mobility. That's the core of our activities. And recently, we're working on self-driving technologies and the connected and the shared economy. All these trends, these are all changing the world, and we are working on those. And we are very motivated in these areas. So, and we work on a few projects, Honda Accelerator and Honda Developer Studio. Accelerator is, we invite a lot of innovators, work together with them, and while the Developer Studio, we mainly work on the apps, and we launch them for our customers. So for innovators, usually they lack resources, so that's where we come in. So we would provide resources. We even provide our personnel, engineers, to help them. And we delve into a lot of different businesses. Smartphones and how they connect to the car. Waymo. It's the Google autopilot. This kind of technology. That's the kind of stuff we're doing. And so everyone, if you have any interesting idea, just come to us. Just come to me, actually. Just tell me and I'll work something out with you. Thank you, Nick. And I'm Fujiwara from Mazda. And I'm from Hiroshima, Japan. So because I'm from Japan, I'm not using any slides. And we make very beautiful, very innovative cars. And our new mission is to make even more innovative vehicles. And you can see in the display, be a driver. That's our new motto. We try to tell the people to not just have the car, but be a driver and really experience it. And well, this is just my basic data. You can just have a look. And some photos. You can see me in them and what I work on. And I really like motorsports. So if you talk about driverless autopilot vehicles, I really hate them actually. Well, that's about it for me.
Can I go to next slide? Oops. Hi,
Good morning. Yamaha. I'm Saijou from Yamaha. And we were founded in July 2015, so this would be our second year anniversary. Originally, I was an engineer for agricultural automation. So I wasn't very experienced in this field. So what I'm working on now, so I'm trying to search for new ideas, new innovations, new collaborations. What we're doing is sort of like creating a new Yamaha. So we do a lot of venture investments, investing in other areas, into people, companies who share our vision, and we help them, and then hopefully they would help us in return. So it's kind of business development, doing what we have in Yamaha and develop them further, using what we have, and so we try to approach other businesses. So that's what we're mainly doing. And so what we're focusing on now is agricultural automation, connected eggs, and eggs as a service. These are what we're concentrated on right now. And we have 4 main investments, and it's about $12 million. And we have 4 different business development projects, and some of them are still ongoing, some have already been completed. This is my team. Apart from myself, all other members are local members from Silicon Valley, so I would be the foreigner, sort of. And our target is always to look to the future. So we look at a lot of things that we don't know about, actually. So we work with a lot of 2,400, more than that, new companies. So when other Japanese companies look at us, they would think that we're doing something very weird. So we basically just look at these 2,400 new companies, and we don't know what is best, what is the best, what is better, what is not. So we just look at all of them and try to work out what is good for us. And we have 4 different projects going on. One of them is this Motobot. Anyone knows about this project? Not really? This is what Fujiwara says he hates. It's the autopilot project, but it's a bit different from the other one, same kind of projects. So it's actually not just an autopilot. As you can see, it's actually a robot trying to pilot the vehicle, and it's not just piloting the vehicle. It's raising. It tries to automate the raising sort of decision making and so on. And this is one of our investments. And this is very close to what we are working on latest. And we are interested in what they're doing, so we invest in them. So we're doing this kind of work. So their self-introductions have finished, so we're now going to the discussion. So there was mention of autopiloting, and people think that it's going to happen in the near future, about 10 years from now. What do you think would change in the automobile industry? What kind of factors would affect the industry? So, for example, Nick, what's Honda thinking? What does Honda think would happen in the near future? Well, cars, basically, cars, you would expect a car to have a driver, and the driver drives it to the destination. And then the driver would actually experience the joy of driving the vehicle. That was what that has been what people expect of cars, but that would change in the future. That's what we think. It's not that we would remove the joy of driving from the driver. But we're also thinking that some people would just simply want to move from A to B. So, and some people would even think, oh, I want to move from A to B, but I don't want to own a car. So there would be a lot of different perspectives. So we would try to answer to all these different kinds of needs from different people. So the technology we use are only means towards that end. So, for example, we think of a lot of different ideas. Like, for example, we had an idea where the car has a dome on its top, and then the driver would sit in the dome on the top and look at everything from a higher point of view. So, but then at this point of time, we still think autopiloting is the quickest way to achieve the needs of a lot of our customers. And we're working with a lot of different companies to achieve that. About the joy of driving, I would think that Fujiwara would be the most enthusiastic about the joy of driving. What do you think about this? I think a car has two main values. The first one is to be able to, as a means of transport, to move someone from A to B. The other important value is how a person can drive a car, and by controlling it, they would actually feel the movement, and it would make them feel the momentum. That's another value of a car, I think. It makes you healthy, really. It's a kind of experience that makes you healthy. And we're also studying autopiloting, but we're more concerned about, for example, if you're 70, you're 80, you're 90 years old, how can you still drive a car? And if you become ill, how would you drive, and how would the car help you so that you would not end up in an accident? That's how we're trying to use the autopiloting technology. We're more concerned about how we can make everyone able to drive, even when you're very old. We actually have a similar view with Fujiwara. For example, motorcycles. It's got a lot more to do with the human body, how the body interacts with the vehicle. So we have to use technology that makes it intuitive for people to drive. So that they don't do something sudden or awkward that makes the vehicle do something they do not expect. So we're trying to combine the convenience and the joy of automobiles. But we also know that a lot of young people these days, they might not really care about the joy part, so they might question this. But this is, of course, this is not all young people. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to use the technology not only for the mobility of the vehicle, but we also want to renew the whole driving experience for everyone. So I think that just by putting, I'm not really a supporter of just putting autopiloting technology into the kind of vehicles we have now. So what do you think how are we going to change cars and how are we going to change their mobility? Well, I think what came up just now is very important, the experience for the drivers. So cars are connections. But by connecting people, people can do a lot more things. So, for example, there's an app we made. We can even while we drive, we can still shop online and pay for everything. So basically, we try to make the time you spend in the car also be time you can spend on something else. You can double or triple your efficiency. So it's not just for cars. For example, we also talked about motorcycles. So basically, what we're trying to work on is, what we collaborate on is to improve driver experience. So just now, I mentioned the X as other service. Why are we looking at that? It's because I think that the products that have not been used extensively right now, I think there's potential in those products. So, for example, people are all stuck in traffic every day when they go to work, when they park, they would waste their time and they would have to find parking spaces, and that's a waste of time. So, and it gets worse and worse because traffic is increasing every day. So I think it's important to think of how can you improve experience in those areas. And I think that's how the industry would change. So it's more than just, we're more than just providing mobility, we're also trying to improve the experience. So what do you think about providing mobility and the extra service? Well, I don't agree completely, but as was mentioned earlier, it's interesting how sometimes when the car is parked, it's not being utilized. So actually, I think there's a potential for sharing. So, for example, if you I think there are some different ways that you can utilize a car that's not just mobility. I think we should think of more uses for a car and improve user experience in that way. It's so for automobiles, we can't just keep making cars that just move from A to B. We need to think of more innovations and work on more different areas. So, in the future, there would be more regulations, more changes in rules. For example, concerns about the environment. What do you think about these concerns? I think it's still quite difficult to, for example, like Tesla is working very hard about this, but it's difficult. For example, in California, you still find a lot of cars that run on conventional engines. It's really hard to popularize all these new engines. For example, you need to have all these infrastructure for it, like how you recharge an electric car and how to make sure that they're as fast as your regular cars. And you also need to change a lot of the basic systems for those cars. And you need to do a lot of work to get them to work regularly, and there are lots of questions that problems need to be solved. And from this point onwards, not only the energy, it's also the autopiloting that we need to work on. For example, you see the vacuum cleaner, the automated vacuum cleaner. It goes back to the charging station automatically. But you need to think about cars. It's a different matter. It's, well, the charging stations, they only work, they only employ 20 to 30% of their capacity. So you need to improve those. So in San Francisco and so on, the Uber and other such services are very popular. And do you think these would be more widespread in the future, or what is your opinion on that? And we talked about sharing. But for example, if you own a car, you wouldn't just lend it to someone else that easily. So there are companies that provide this kind of service. But if you talk about, oh, I'm going to just put my car there and then let someone borrow it, that's quite difficult. So you can't just suddenly switch the whole system to make it happen like that. So people wouldn't just suddenly think, oh, actually, I'm going to lend my car to people. It's not possible. But on the other hand, you see that Uber, it disrupted the taxi services. It's a new, different service. It's basically a personal private car being used for the service. So personal private cars disrupted business service cars. So I think this is a trend for the future. How about the manufacturers of cars? Would they think about these factors when they make new cars? Of course we do. So since we're making cars that concentrate on the driver experience, of course we do. So what do you think about the future cars? What do you think be a driver? What's that going to take you? What direction is it going to take? So in advanced developed countries, you have problems like aging societies, that sort of problems, a lot of, well, first world problems. So I think our target is to help solve those problems. That's what we're going to have to think about in the near future. To, for example, share cars, EV, autopiloting, use these technologies to solve actual problems in the society. So if we can't do that, we can't be a driver, as our motto points out. I think the joy and the convenience, they have to be combined very delicately. But at this point of time, maybe it would be more. It would be better to separate the two into two different products. The joy in one product, convenience in one product. Convenient products would be autopiloted, a lot of auto services, while the product that concentrates on joy would be more focused on how well it drives, how the driver experiences the vehicle. So that would be the direction we take. So I think it would be more important for companies to decide what they really want to make, and then so the company should focus on what they want to do. Well, basically, a company, a car manufacturer, the most important thing for them is to make things.
This concludes the session.